Hi, I'm Joe Hilferty, and this is Appliance Explained. Today, I want to talk about Miele combination steam ovens. Specifically, this is the DGC7840. I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get into this. Now, like the previous couple of generations of the combi steam oven, you've got your water reservoir here, and you've got a rinse or waste reservoir here. Like all of these Miele combi steam ovens, there is a drain on the floor. So there is a plumbed version of this, right? You can get a DGC7845 and other variations. That 5 signifying that this will be that would be a plumbed unit. This would be just a block off panel, and I think this will just autofill, and then you'll drain the water to a little drain. But even if you don't have a plumbed version, this is kind of nice. Like, nobody else has that feature. A non-plumbed Wolf combi steam oven, there's probably going to be some water that you'd have to mop up on the floor. I think it's Thermador. You'll get a sponge for kind of sponging up water on the floor of that, and how much water that might puddle up there, I don't know. But having the drain is kind of a nice feature. So I like that functionality. We're talking about form factor. When you look at the size of this oven cavity, let me pull the bins out here. And we're looking at the inside of the cavity. It's not a huge cavity, but it's big enough, right? Like, if I look at this large steam container and I put a big piece of fish on there, I could put a couple of large pieces of fish, I could put a ton of vegetables. Even the smaller, these little half containers, like, that holds a ton of stuff. So for a family of 6, like, I think I really would be kind of hard pressed to need to fill up more than what would come in this steam oven as far as the racks that are provided. Obviously, if I'm planning on doing like a large roast, the taller variation of this, that would be like the DGC78, I think it's a 7865, 24 by 24 versus 24 by 18 format that you're seeing here. You wouldn't have that issue, but you got to think, a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff in their countertop air fryers and their countertop toaster ovens, and that's because the size of a US oven is just grown to the point that just for doing small everyday meals, it doesn't make sense to heat up that large oven. So everybody goes in thinking about that once or twice a year that they might do a turkey. They go and they buy this big oven that takes longer to preheat, is less efficient, is less even in temperature. This smaller form factor actually makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of just everyday things that I can bake in this oven, and it's going to preheat faster. It's going to be more consistent because of its smaller size. So where I do kind of think the wide format combi steam oven in the Wolf is neat, I don't think I really need it. I like that. You can see that iridescent quality to the back wall. That lining in this is coated in kind of like a, if I understand it correctly, a non-porous clear coat. That linen finish and that clear coat make it easier to wipe down. You still need to clean it up after every use. I mean, you don't want to let things bake into that finish because they'll be, nearly impossible to come off. These basically just pull off, so I can remove the racks. I can pull off the side runners, and now it's opened up. Now, previously, look up at the roof there, you'll see there's a little finger pull. This used to be a screw, so you had to unscrew that to get the broiler to drop down to clean the roof. And that was a big complaint that I had with the previous generation. So you can see they've actually solved that here. Oh, my side lights just went out. In that, you can actually just fold the broiler down a bit, and now you can scrub the roof, which is where a lot of things would splatter up and get to. So I love that upgrade on this new model. Lighting system was updated. It's been a while, so I can't remember what was there previously. I think there was maybe one of these lights, so you can see there's 2. Here's a good shot of the broiler. Like the previous generation, you can see where they terminate, right? There's an inner element and an outer element. So there's still a broiler, and then there's a browning element. And when we look at the controls, you'll see there is surround bake, and there is a standard broil and a maxi broil. In addition to browning, you have both a top browner and a bottom browner. That is actually not a bake element. Your surround is actually your bake mode. Bottom browning, top browning, those are going to be modes where you're just using that outer element to put a little extra color on the top of that casserole. Just get a little bit of heat on something. So when you're finishing it, ordinarily you might try to use the broiler, but if you're not careful, the broiler can like really overdo it in some cases. If you're doing a pie and you want to just direct heat gently to the bottom of that pie dish for the last like 10 or 15 minutes, going to that bottom browning mode is kind of handy. Just like all previous generations, Miele is going to set up your operating modes in the order in which they think that you'll probably use them most frequently. So number one thing they think you're going to use is going to be convection bake and convection roast. And then standard bake, or what they call surround, be bottom heat with the browning element on the roof, I believe. Combi steam is going to be your bake or your convection bake with the addition of steam. So where this thing differs from a lot of its competition is here, right? So I've got a regular bake in addition to a broil and a roast. Most of them don't have a bake element. So you either have convection combi steam. In case of, I think the Thermador and the Wolf, you'll have a broil at the top of that element. So you'll have a broil function set up. If you look next to that, we're seeing a percentage. So in that percentage, we're seeing, the ability to go in like little 5% increments to adjust the environment with how much humidity and how much steam. So that's different. I think in the other companies, you'll have just like a high, medium, low, or they won't really tell you what exactly it's going to run at. So this is kind of a really neat feature that is exclusive to the Miele as far as that level of precision. Another thing that's going to put Miele way over their competition is the number of things that are programmed. The timing has been programmed in for different types of produce. There's your bread options here. So you've got 2 cards of bread options. Eggs. You've got, here's fish. All the different fish options that are pre-programmed from a timing standpoint. Grains. There's fruit. Gooseberries. Beans, peas, lentils, different types of lentils, different types of beans, game, boar, lamb, like a lamb, saddle lamb, lamb shanks, lamb chops, veal, I don't know who eats veal, but beef, meatballs, prime rib, got a ton of options. And then you go, there's even more, poultry, you've got chicken, turkey, different types of potatoes, pizza, salmon, quiche Lorraine, interesting. Pastry shop. This is really neat. So they've added a lot of things. So previously, what Miele had done, and it was a little bit of a jip because we had a combi steam oven. So we had options to use both radiant heat and steam. And most of what was imported on those previous generations were things that would use just one or the other, but not both. It's different with these automatic programs on this newer model is that if you go in and you select one of them, they're going to give you the option to display the cooking stages. So the first thing it's going to tell you is what mode it's chosen. So for this butter cake, it's saying combi surround, so basically combination bake. So if you look at the percentage of steam in that environment, there's 90% steam, 320 degrees for 15 minutes. There's a second stage where it's going to go ahead and drop the temperature down from 320 to 293, and then it's going to go ahead and remove steam. So after a certain time interval, in this case 15 minutes. So for the last 10 minutes, it's lower temperature, no steam. You're going to find that level of precision on just about all of these things. The most exciting thing is going to be your vegetables. So here you can see all the different vegetables that come in this. Just like previous generations, we have menu cooking where it's going to allow you to select protein, lentils, grains, any one of these things. And because your timing may change, but your temperature will not. You'll have the ability to cook multiple things simultaneously. This is just going to tell you at what time to put each of those in there. So as an example, I'm going to select some Atlantic cod fillet, 1 1/4 inches. I want to add, let's do basmati. Okay. And then let's do a little bit of vegetable. Artichokes, carrots, cauliflower. Let's do cauliflower. Florets, medium, slightly crunchy. Once we hit start, it's going to have me put in the thing that's going to take the longest, which in this case is the rice. After so many minutes of preheating and cooking, it's going to go ahead and chime, and it's going to tell me when to put in my cauliflower, and then probably a few minutes after that, it's going to chime and tell me to put in my cod. At the end of that cooking cycle, all 3 of those things are going to finish at the same time. They're all going to be super healthy, but just a really neat way to take advantage of everything that this can do. There's also mix and match, so I can do crisp cooking, gentle cooking, crisp reheating, and gentle reheating. So let's do a gentle reheat. Display cooking stages. So it's going to use the convection bake, 266 degrees. Then we're going to do, it looks like 17 minutes with 90% steam. Gentle reheat, we're in 17 minutes. You know, it's not going to feel like it's been microwaved or overcooked on the stove top. Now, if I had something crispy, you know, maybe like French fries, I'm going to say, what? Okay, so combi convection bake. You know, here the steam is dialed down to 70%, and that's really only on for 6 minutes. And then it's going to dial the steam way down to 30%, but pick up the radiant temperature. So it'll kind of rehydrate things for a little bit there, you know, just at, you know, at that 70% level, and then it's going to drop the steam down to a point where, you know, 30% isn't like a crazy amount of steam, and really utilize the radiant heating elements to crisp up that food for reheating. And it's going to do basically the same thing for cooking multiple foods at the same time as well. You know, without getting in the weeds here, that's probably as far into this as I'll get. If you have questions about this oven, put them in the comments. I'll try to answer them if I can, or if I have time to make a little video, I will do that. And you know, if you like this video, please give me the little thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you want more of this content, please go ahead and click on the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. We've had a couple people that have made comments, especially now that, that Wolf has a new combi steam oven. So they've asked me to do a comparison and or give my thoughts and opinions on this new generation of steam oven, and whether or not I would still go with a Miele over anything else, or would Wolf get my money. Just pay no attention that I'm wearing a Miele polo shirt, because, you know, I go with the Miele. So I really like that large kind of wide format oven. I'll try to put a link for the video that I did on the new Wolf combi steam oven. But when it comes to the user interface, the level of control, the features, the functionality, the fact that it actually has a true bake function, I'm still gonna say that I would give my money to Miele. So